Housing Minister Watson announced in May that he would be holding 12 public consultations around the province until September. And then there'll be sectoral consultations in the fall, and there's an online questionnaire available until December 2009. And then the government plans to release the housing strategy in the spring of 2010. So in this part of the province, we have 3 upcoming consultation meetings in Scarborough on the evening of July 21st, next week, and in Toronto during the afternoon and again in the evening on July the 22nd. So the intent of this forum today is to raise issues and put forward housing solutions that we need the Government of Ontario to hear as part of its consultation on long-term housing strategy. So first of all, we have Michael Shapcott from the Wellesley Institute and co-chair of the Housing Network of Ontario.
One thing I think we can say about the people in this room and our many friends and colleagues is that we've been engaged in a number of aspects of the housing issue for many, many years at the national level, the provincial level, and here in the City of Toronto. And over that period of time, I think it's safe to say, I haven't done a scientific analysis, but we win some, we lose some, and we carry on and we keep fighting because it's important. It's important to us, it's important to the people that are friends and neighbors. One of the things that's been consistent throughout in all of the battles that we've fought with housing is we've said that for all of the individual fights we have, whether it's to reform the Social Housing Reform Act so that social housing tenants have a better situation, or whether it's dealing with new housing supply or the affordability of existing housing, rent controls, all those sort of things. One thing that's very consistent is we've said that all of these individual things have to be put as part of a comprehensive housing plan because everything works together. Because when it comes to housing policy, like human anatomy, the hip bone is connected to the thigh bone, everything is connected, and when you do something in one area, it has an impact in other areas. So we've been saying for years to the provincial government, the Ontario government, to the current government and previous government, you need a comprehensive housing plan in addition to taking action on all the individual issues that are very important to us. And we got in 2007 a commitment from the provincial government that they would in fact launch a consultation to develop a provincial housing plan. And then more recently in December, the government re-announced that it was going to actually have a consultation. And we know with governments, they like to make announcements, and we like to encourage them to make announcements. We also like them to take action. But and now we're into the action phase. So now we're into a phase of developing a comprehensive provincial housing plan. So in my 7 minutes or however long I have left, I want to just talk a little bit about what a provincial housing plan is and how do we build it and how do all the people in this room and all of our friends and partners across the province do it. There are 2 ways to build a comprehensive provincial housing plan, and both of them are important. One way is we build it from the community up. That is, we identify the specific issues that are important in our lives and the lives of everyone in this room and all the people that are out there that are sleeping rough on the streets, the people that are experiencing various forms of precarious housing. We build from the community up a comprehensive plan. We identify specific needs and we identify solutions that meet those needs. And the second thing we do is we work from the provincial level down. And we look at what is necessary across the entire province in order to pull together a comprehensive housing plan. So our task as this consultation gets launched is to do 2 things: to build from the community up and to build from the provincial level down. Now when we talk to good people like Ryan and Tatum and their political masters, one of the issues that we always talk about for a comprehensive provincial housing plan is money. And money is something that governments don't necessarily like to talk about, especially nowadays, because they like to say there's not a lot of money and they can't really afford stuff. But I want to talk just a little bit about the role of money in a provincial housing plan, and I'll tell you that the Wellesley Institute, where we spend a fair bit of our time looking at numbers and money and so on, one of the things we've done is we've looked at housing investments by all the provinces, territories, and the federal government over the last 20 years, up to and including March 31st of 2009, which is the end of the 2008-2009 fiscal year. We've looked at how much governments are actually spending, investing in affordable housing across the country. And in order to make it fair, because some provinces are a little bit smaller, like Prince Edward Island, fewer people, Ontario is bigger, more people. In order to make it fair, we divide the overall housing investment by the number of people and come up with a figure of per capita housing in order to ask the question, how is Ontario doing? Is Ontario investing enough money in housing, or is it investing better or worse than other provinces? One of the things we found, much to our surprise and perhaps to our shame, those of us who live in Ontario, is Ontario is actually dead last among all the provinces and territories in terms of investment, per capita investment in housing. So one of the issues when we talk about a comprehensive housing plan and we talk about what's necessary for the provincial level is we do need to bring up the issue of provincial investment. As uncomfortable as it is for politicians to listen to that and hear that, governments do have to invest in housing. Housing is expensive. It's expensive to fund housing benefit programs to ensure housing is affordable. It's expensive to build new housing and maintain it. It's expensive to provide the supports that some people need to maintain their housing. So housing investment is one important issue, and it's an issue we're going to continue to bring forward in terms of the housing consultations. We're also looking at some of the other things that are important to people, like legislation, programs, services, the whole package of things that are available. And Ontario is quite a bit different than most other provinces in that Ontario, back starting in the mid-1990s, but with increasing speed starting in 1998 and then into the early part of this millennium, Ontario has been saying to local governments, municipal governments, that you guys actually have to take the lead on housing. It's no longer our responsibility. So they've started a process called downloading. So when you look at all the provinces across the country, you'll see that some provinces, like Quebec, do in fact, the municipal and provincial governments do partner on housing issues, and they expect municipal governments to pay a certain share. In Alberta, the provincial government in Alberta expects its municipal governments to also play a certain role in things. But no province, it stands out, no province puts a bigger financial burden on its local municipalities to pay for affordable housing anywhere in Canada than the Ontario government. So I want to just begin by, in terms of the comprehensive housing plan, to say that at the provincial side of things, when we talk about money, there's two questions: what the government's spending, and also what the government is telling other levels of government that it has to spend. And those are issues that we need to take up. And as you start to hear from other experts on the panel, Philip and others down, about specific housing needs, and you ask the question, well, how can we pay for that? One of the answers is the Ontario government can start to step up and begin to match the per capita investments. For instance, Ontario spends $64 per capita in the most recent year on affordable housing versus, let's say, the socialist heartland of Alberta, which spends $154, so quite substantially more. I'm getting my 1 minute sign. So what I'll say is that when we come to some of the questions of what the province can do, the question of money and how money plays into a provincial affordable housing plan, I want to finally say that we're going to have some more strategic discussion as we get into this about our formal meeting that's happening. There are 3 of them next week here in Ontario, on Scarborough on Tuesday, and downtown Toronto. This is our opportunity to talk about building from the community up and from the provincial level down, and to talk about important issues like ramping up provincial investment in affordable housing, bringing Ontario more in line with what other provinces and territories are doing. Thanks very much.